My hands were still trembling, not from cold, but from sheer bone-deep disbelief, as I stood in the doorway of my brand-new, utterly silent townhouse. I had waited 35 years for this, paid cash for the renovation, designed every square inch myself. It was supposed to be the moment I finally earned my peace, my independence, my adulthood free from the constant, suffocating weight of my family. I whispered a breathless, "Hello, beautiful," to the pristine foyer, the scent of fresh lacquer and expensive Italian paint filling my lungs. I was practically floating until I reached the living room, and then I slammed back down to earth with a sickening thud. Where my $15,000 custom-made dove gray modular sofa set, the centerpiece of my upcoming collaboration with Lux Nova Furnishings, should have been, there was an absolute horror show. Seriously, imagine the kind of furniture a college dropout drags out of a dumpster behind a dive bar, and you're getting close. There was a hideous, plaid, threadbare love seat with stuffing literally spilling out of a tear in the armrest, a coffee table covered in decades of coffee rings and cigarette burns, and shelves that looked like termite casualties waiting to happen. But the real kick in the teeth? The smell. A potent, sickening combination of old mildew, stale fast food, and the unmistakable, stomach-turning ammonia tang of dried urine. I clapped a hand over my mouth, fighting back bile. I knew this garbage. Every single piece of it belonged to my younger sister, Marissa, the queen of entitlement. My eyes fixed on the windows, where the massive, custom Lux Nova smart blinds, the actual product I was contracted to feature, hung pristine and elegant, an absurd contrast to the squalor they framed. Before I could even scream, my phone vibrated in my pocket. A text from Marissa. I opened it, and the world tilted. It was a photo of my nephews, Ian and Sam, two sweet, innocent boys I adore, bouncing like maniacs on my dove gray modular sofa. They were wearing shoes and holding something sticky, probably chocolate, and they were grinning wildly. Underneath, the text. "Thanks, sis. Mom said it was a housewarming gift for me. My old stuff is at your place, but you're such a brilliant designer, you'll make it look incredible for your followers. Maybe you can use it in your thrifty chic posts, lol." My hands were shaking so hard I nearly dropped the phone. This was not a misunderstanding. This was not a joke. This was an outright calculated theft executed by my mother, Eleanor, and Marissa, using my new home as a dumping ground. 5 days ago, I made the mistake of announcing my housewarming party date a little too early in the family group chat because I was so damn proud of myself. Immediately, Eleanor chimed in, saying she absolutely had to see it first, she had to be involved. Fool that I was, I felt a ridiculous flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, for once in my life, my mother wanted to support me, not Marissa. Then, the delivery company called about the sofa. The delivery window was today, Friday, when I had a crucial all-day strategy meeting for my design consultancy. Before I could panic, Eleanor, bless her manipulative heart, offered the perfect solution. "Give me the spare key, Anya. I'll be there to accept it and make sure they put it right where you want it." I handed over the key, overwhelmed with gratitude, thinking, finally, Mom cares. What a pathetic joke that was. I sank onto Marissa's foul-smelling couch, the dust and stench assaulting me, and let the 35 years of resentment boil over. I have always been the reliable one, the human ATM. I put myself through design school working 3 jobs while Marissa dropped out after a semester because studying was boring. I paid off her mounting credit card debts, the $2,000 one, then the $3,500 one. For the last 4 years, I've been sending $700 every single month to ensure Ian and Sam have decent clothes and food, while Marissa posts stories from weekend trips she somehow affords. The emotional weight of carrying their responsibilities has been crushing, but I always justified it with family. The guilt was a leash they kept around my neck. Marissa's second text came through. "The boys love the modular. It's perfect for our living room. Mom says you wouldn't mind. You're so independent and successful anyway." That was the line. That casual, entitled dismissal of my hard-won success as a justification for grand theft. Everything inside me, the years of bending, the decades of quiet compliance, snapped. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. A cold, clear, deadly calm descended. I looked around at the offensive, filthy trash they had left in my beautiful, expensive new space, and I stood up. I didn't bother locking the front door when I left. There was nothing left worth protecting. My sister's dingy apartment complex was 10 minutes away. I knew Eleanor would still be there, basking in the glow of her daughter's gift, congratulating herself on a perfectly executed heist. My father, Thomas, would be sitting somewhere silent, invisible, just like always. But not this time. The leash was cut. I drove to Marissa's apartment, my knuckles white on the steering wheel, my mind laser-focused on one single objective: retaliation. I didn't knock when I reached her second-floor door. I used the spare key she'd given me years ago for emergencies, which always meant Anja needs to pick up my kids. This certainly qualified as an emergency, though not the one she expected. The door flew open so hard it hit the wall, and I strode into the living room, my gaze sweeping over the scene. My $15,000 dove gray modular sofa set, the glass coffee table, the matching lacquer side tables, my furniture was crammed awkwardly into their tiny, low-ceilinged apartment, looking monstrously out of place. And there, enthroned on the chaise section, was Eleanor, sipping tea with irritating serenity. Marissa was hovering nearby, her initial look of surprise dissolving into defensive hostility when she saw my face. "What the f?" I demanded, the words clipped and flat. Eleanor set her teacup down delicately. "Anya, there's no need for that tone. We were just celebrating Marissa's new—" "You stole my furniture," I interrupted, my voice dangerously low. "My mother convinced the delivery company to unload my property at a different address and dumped this vile, urine-soaked trash in my home. That's theft." "We didn't steal anything," Marissa scoffed, crossing her arms. "Mom said it was a gift. We're family. Family shares." Eleanor stood up, smoothing her slacks, deploying her signature, reasonable adult voice. "Pardon me, Anya, but you live alone in a mansion. Why do you need such expensive, enormous pieces? Marissa has growing boys and a much smaller budget." "Because I bought them with my money for my house, and the couch you left me smells like bodily fluids." Eleanor gasped dramatically, pressing a hand to her chest. "Are you implying my grandsons are animals, Anya? That's appalling." "You're just jealous," chimed in Marissa, tossing her messy hair. "You're a high-end influencer. You can turn trash into treasure. Just make our old stuff look amazing for your followers, like you always do." The brazen audacity nearly buckled my knees. But then Eleanor threw the real grenade. "Honestly, Anya, this tantrum is beneath you. Go home. You have that massive promotional shoot with Lux Nova on Tuesday. You can't afford to miss that opportunity fighting over a sofa." I froze. The name hit me like an ice pick. Lux Nova. That contract was confidential. I hadn't told anyone in the family. It was too important, too sensitive to risk their involvement. "How do you know about Lux Nova?" I whispered, my blood running cold. A flicker of panic crossed Eleanor's eyes before she covered it with the practiced frown. "You mentioned it, dear, obviously." "No, I didn't." The realization was absolute. They hadn't just stolen the furniture, they had been actively monitoring my career, found out about the biggest contract of my life, and calculated a way to sabotage it completely, knowing that if the sofa wasn't there, the entire shoot and my career could crumble. "You went through my email," I stated, the accusation ringing with certainty. Before Eleanor could deny it, the boys, drawn by the rising tension, rushed out and clung to my legs. "Auntie Anya, please don't take the nice sofa away. We love it," cried little Sam, tears welling up instantly. I felt the familiar, crippling wave of guilt wash over me, the manipulation tool I've fallen for my entire life. But this time, it failed. I knelt down, looked into their tearful eyes, and said, "Sweeties, I love you, but Grandma and Mommy took something that didn't belong to them." I stood up, facing my family. My father, Thomas, finally spoke from his corner, his voice barely a squeak. "Marissa, just give your sister her things back." Eleanor shot him a look of pure venom, and he instantly shrank back. I pulled out my phone, the ice-water calm returning. "I'll say it once more. Pack it up, or you face the consequences." Marissa smirked, leaning against the kitchen counter. "What are you going to do, Anya? Really? You won't do anything. You never do." My thumb hovered over the phone icon. I'm going to do the one thing you never thought I would. My thumb moved, fast and decisive, and I heard the low, clear tone of the 911 operator connecting. Marissa's smug grin evaporated instantly, replaced with a look of sheer, horrified disbelief, like a child who realized their bluff had been called with real consequences. Eleanor's teacup, which she had been holding as a prop of her superior composure, slipped from her trembling fingers and shattered on the dingy laminate floor. The sound was deafening in the sudden silence. "What are you doing? Are you insane?" My mother shrieked, her voice cracking with fury and panic. "Yes, I'd like to report a theft," I said into the phone, my voice steady, professional, and chillingly calm. "The property is a custom $15,000 modular sofa set and accessories. It was illegally removed from my residence, which is a new townhouse in the Aspen Hill development, and transported to this address by my mother and sister. I have all receipts and delivery confirmations." "Thomas, do something! She's actually calling the cops!" Eleanor screamed, rounding on my father as if he was supposed to physically restrain me. Thomas finally moved, stepping forward tentatively, his hand half raised as if to intervene. For a split second, I saw the ghost of the man who married my mother, the one who tried to enforce her warped reality. But I locked eyes with him, and whatever spark of resistance he had flickered and died. "Dad, don't," I warned, not raising my voice, just letting the hard truth of the last 35 years hang between us. He saw the cold resolve in my face, the end of the line, the final break. Slowly, agonizingly, his hand dropped and he retreated back into the corner, shrinking back into the silent shadow he had always been. He chose avoidance, again, but this time it was a choice that didn't help his wife or his favorite daughter. "And now they are attempting to physically stop me and intimidate me," I added to the operator, just to make sure the gravity of the situation was registered. The operator confirmed that officers were being dispatched immediately. The next 20 minutes were pure, unadulterated theater, and I was the stone-cold director. Eleanor paced, a frantic whirlwind of sputtering threats, "You'll regret this, Anya," and tearful, manipulative pleas. "Think of your poor old mother. What will the neighbors think?" Marissa was in full denial mode, calling me a psychopath and daring me to go through with it right up until the loud, authoritative knock landed on her apartment door. The moment of truth arrived. Two officers, a tall woman named Officer Reed and a stocky man named Officer Chen, stood framed in the doorway. "We received a call regarding a high-value theft," Officer Reed stated calmly. Eleanor immediately stepped forward, pulling her socialite mask over her frantic expression. "Officers, this is an absurd misunderstanding. This is a private family matter. My daughter Anya is simply having a childish tantrum." "I'm Anya Kova," I interrupted smoothly, presenting the officers with my phone. "I purchased this $15,000 modular sofa set, which was delivered to my new townhouse yesterday. My mother Eleanor and sister Marissa intercepted the delivery and removed the property without my consent, replacing it with this." I showed them the photos of the filthy, discarded furniture they had dumped in my pristine living room, followed by the receipts, proof of ownership, and delivery confirmation showing my address. Officer Chen took down the information methodically, then turned to Eleanor and Marissa. "Ma'am, did you remove this furniture from Miss Kova's residence?" Eleanor tried to pivot. "It was a gift. Anya agreed to give it to Marissa because her children, Ian and Sam, need it so much more than she does." "That is a lie," I stated clearly. "I never gave consent. I have text messages from my sister thanking me for a housewarming gift that I never authorized." The officers separated us, taking individual statements. They noted the suspicious text messages, listened to Eleanor's increasingly desperate and contradictory explanations, and observed Thomas's utter silence in the corner. After what felt like an eternity, Officer Reed gathered us back in the tiny living room. "Based on the evidence, Miss Kova has clear proof of purchase and delivery to her address. The property was removed without her consent. This constitutes theft, regardless of the familial relationship." She looked directly at my mother and sister, her expression stern. "You have two options. Return the property immediately under our supervision, or Miss Kova can file formal charges right now, and this will proceed to court." The blood drained from Eleanor's face, her composure finally breaking. Marissa's defiant posture slumped. We'll return it, Eleanor choked out, her voice barely a whisper. The humiliation that followed was the sweetest justice. Under the watchful eyes of the police, they had to begin the tedious, physically demanding process of repacking the enormous modular sofa set. Marissa, who hasn't lifted anything heavier than a champagne glass in a decade, struggled awkwardly with the heavy chaise cushions, swearing under her breath. Eleanor was forced to carefully wrap the glass and lacquer side tables she had carelessly stolen, her movements stiff with incandescent rage. The officers remained until every single piece was accounted for and loaded onto the truck the police had insisted on calling, and which Eleanor had to pay for. As the last box was sealed, I turned to leave. The confrontation was over. "Don't you dare show your face here again," Eleanor hissed at my back, her eyes burning with pure hatred. I paused at the door, turning slowly to face her, allowing a lifetime of suppressed pain and resentment to sharpen my gaze. "That's the best advice you've given me all day, Eleanor." I let my eyes drift to Marissa, then back to my mother. "Oh, and don't bother looking for the $700 on the first of the month. The ATM is permanently closed." The police escort followed me back to my new townhouse, overseeing the careful placement of my furniture. The officers left, giving me a case number, just in case. Finally alone, I stood in my living room, surrounded by my belongings, and the victory felt strangely heavy. The dove gray sofa wasn't perfect anymore. There was a slight discoloration where the ice cream stain had been, a tiny scuff mark on the glass table, and a ripped tag I hadn't noticed before. I didn't cry. Instead, I pulled out my phone and began methodically documenting everything. Videos of the room, close-up photos of every single imperfection. I called a high-end emergency upholstery cleaner, swallowing the insane premium rate for a Saturday night service. The stain had to be gone before Tuesday's shoot with Lux Nova. The entire weekend was a blur of frantic preparation. Gabe showed up Saturday morning, his arms loaded with professional cleaning supplies and his face alight with awe. "You called the actual police on your own mother and sister?" he repeated, not asking, just stating the incredible fact. "I had to, Gabe. They weren't just taking the furniture, they were trying to ruin the Lux Nova contract." I explained, carefully arranging pillows to hide the almost invisible stain mark. "I'm so incredibly proud of you, Anya. You finally stopped giving them permission," he said, helping me adjust the lighting. By Sunday night, the room was immaculate, a perfect stage for my professional life. I was just stepping out of the shower when my phone started blinking maniacally. 3 missed calls from a Lux Nova representative, 5 from Gabe, and dozens of Instagram notifications. My stomach dropped. I unlocked the screen, and there it was, Marissa's newest, most toxic social media post. A photo of the old, filthy plaid furniture that had smelled like urine, haphazardly dumped against the backdrop of my elegant, custom Lux Nova smart blinds. She had tagged my professional account, @Anyakova Designs, and captioned it, "Visited the luxury designer's new place. Guess this is the real taste of @Anyakova Designs? Trash. Disappointed." The war wasn't over. It had just gone public. I felt a cold surge of focus. Marissa couldn't steal the sofa, so she was trying to steal my reputation. My phone started buzzing again, the Lux Nova representative's number flashing on the screen. I took a deep breath, pulled my composure around me like a shield, and answered. "Ms. Kova? I was just about to call you. Ms. Kova, I was just about to call you." The Lux Nova representative's voice, which belonged to a woman named Zara, was ice. "Anya, I've been forwarded a deeply disturbing image featuring our custom smart blinds. The contract specifies pristine, luxury staging. Having our brand new line displayed alongside what appears to be discarded, filth-ridden furniture is absolutely unacceptable." My heart was hammering against my ribs, but the cold clarity I'd found earlier settled over me. I wasn't going to beg, I was going to control the narrative. "Zara, I completely understand your concern. Let me be perfectly clear. That photograph was taken and posted by my sister, Marissa, without my knowledge or consent, specifically to sabotage this collaboration." "Explain. Now," she ordered. So I did. The entire humiliating, maddening story poured out. The theft, Eleanor's involvement, calling the police, the humiliating return of the sofa, the frantic weekend of cleaning, and the final spiteful social media attack. I didn't hide the ugliness. I presented it as a calculated, family-wide criminal conspiracy against my professional life. The photo shoot is still scheduled for tomorrow morning. I finished, my voice steady. I personally guarantee the space is immaculate. The furniture is professionally cleaned and treated. Your Lux Nova blinds will be showcased exactly as we discussed. I will not let you down. There was a long, tense silence on the line. I could almost hear her processing the sheer level of drama I just delivered. "Very well, Miss Kova," Zara finally said, her tone softening slightly, perhaps sensing the truth in my desperation. "I sympathize with your family situation. It sounds incredibly complicated. But I'm trusting you, Anya. My team arrives at 9 a.m. sharp. Deliver what we agreed upon." "Thank you for the chance," I replied, relief flooding me. After hanging up, I sent Gabe a quick text. "Crisis averted. Lux Nova is still on. See you bright and early." I walked straight to my desk and opened my laptop. A new spreadsheet appeared on the screen, stark white and brutally honest. I titled it, "Final Invoice: The Cost of Being the Family ATM." Line by line, I started documenting the hard costs. College debt bailout, $2,000 plus $3,500 equals $5,500. Monthly support payments, $700 times 48 months equals $33,600. Cash gifts and emergency loans, estimated 5 years, equals $6,000. Utility and car insurance payments for Marissa, estimated, equaled $4,800. The subtotal flashed on the screen, $49,900. Nearly $50,000. The concrete financial weight of being the responsible daughter, the reliable wallet, the silent enabler for over 4 years. I saved the file. This wasn't about recouping the money. I knew they could never pay it back. This was about drawing the line, giving them a tangible figure for their entitlement, a physical representation of the decades of exploitation. I composed a new email, attaching the spreadsheet and addressing it to Eleanor, Marissa, and, reluctantly, Thomas. Subject: Final invoice. Payment not expected. The body was brief and unforgiving. Attached is the cost of my financial support over the last several years. Consider this my formal notice that the ATM is permanently closed. Do not contact me again. The next time you involve the police, it will be to face felony charges. I hit send, then immediately went into my phone settings and blocked Eleanor's and Marissa's numbers, blocking their associated social media accounts for good measure. A feeling of lightness washed over me, a weight I hadn't realized I was carrying, suddenly gone. It was freedom, cold and exhilarating. The next morning, the townhouse was transformed into a professional studio. The Lux Nova team was a hive of focused, high-energy activity. Lighting technicians adjusted softboxes, stylists placed perfect design books on the immaculate glass coffee table, and the Lux Nova representative, Zara, inspected her smart blinds, nodding approvingly as they silently responded to her voice commands. Gabe and I collapsed on the sofa with glasses of wine. "You did it," he toasted, clinking his glass against mine. "Crisis averted." And Zara seemed thrilled. She was. We are releasing the photos tomorrow morning across all platforms. That post will crush Marissa's sad attempt at sabotage, I confirmed, taking a deep, satisfied sip. I knew the silence wouldn't last, not with that invoice hanging over them. 2 blocks away, Marissa slammed her phone down on her scarred coffee table, her eyes wide with mounting hysteria. $49,900? What the hell does she mean the ATM is closed? I need that $700 on the first. How are we supposed to pay the power bill? Eleanor was pacing back and forth across Marissa's cramped, dimly lit living room, her face mottled with furious disbelief. "This is ridiculous. She can't just cut us off after everything we've done for her." "Done for her?" Marissa shrieked back, laughing bitterly. "Like what, Eleanor? Like stealing her couch and almost ruining her career? You've only ever taken from her, and now she's blocked both our numbers?" Their argument escalated, voices rising to a piercing, hysterical scream that sent Ian and Sam scurrying into their bedrooms, hands clamped over their ears. In the corner, Thomas watched silently, rubbing his temples, the heavy weight of his failure pressing down on him. The shouting continued until almost midnight, forcing him to retreat to the spare bedroom. He pulled out his phone and typed a message to me, his fingers slow and hesitant. "They've been fighting all night. Marissa says you've cut off the money. Maybe you should reconsider, for the boys' sake." He stared at the screen, waiting for the familiar, guaranteed reply, the confirmation that the leash still held. The reply never came. I was asleep, finally at peace, and for the first time in my life, Thomas was the one feeling the true weight of the silence. 3 months. 92 days of glorious, absolute silence from Eleanor and Marissa after I hit send on that final invoice. My phone would buzz occasionally with a call from Thomas, usually around 8 p.m., sounding more defeated each time. It was always the same plea. "Anya, can't you forgive your mother? She misses you. We all do. Think of the boys." I deleted his voicemails without listening past the first sigh. The $15,000 Dove Gray modular sofa sat in my living room, no longer just furniture, but a monument to my resilience, a reminder that I had finally, fully made them see me, not as a resource, but as a person with boundaries. The only interference came in the form of my extended family. My Aunt Larissa, Eleanor's sister, called, her voice sharp with judgment. "Anya Kova, what is wrong with you? She's your mother, for heaven's sake. Family forgives, Anya. Just let it go." "Aunt Larissa, this isn't about forgiveness. It's about respect and boundaries." "Boundaries?" she practically spat. "That's just a fancy word for selfish." I ended the call. Within an hour, my phone was alight with texts from various cousins and uncles. The family artillery had been deployed to try and guilt-trip the ATM back online. I set my phone to Do Not Disturb and watched my business thrive. The Lux Nova collaboration had been a massive success, the resulting photos crushing Marissa's pathetic sabotage attempt. The authenticity of the drama, ironically, only fueled my popularity, securing 3 new contracts with major home decor brands. My business grew in direct proportion to my family's rage. The true test came a month later. It was a quiet Tuesday evening when my phone buzzed with a text from Thomas that actually got my attention because it included an image. My nephews Ian and Sam smiled up at me, thinner than I remembered, holding a slightly crumpled, crudely drawn sign, "We miss you, Auntie Anya." Thomas's message read, "The kids really miss you and want to visit. They're asking why Auntie Anya isn't coming over." My heart clenched. This was the manipulation I feared most, using the innocent boys as leverage. I had cut off the money to protect myself, but had I inadvertently harmed them? Were they suffering because of my stand against their mother's entitlement? I picked up the phone and, for the first time in 4 months, initiated contact. Thomas answered on the first ring, cautious hope laced in his voice. "Thomas, I got your text," I said, keeping my tone perfectly neutral.
"I miss the boys too. I have conditions. I'd like to see them. You can bring them to my house this weekend. Just you and the kids. Eleanor and Marissa are not to come. That is non-negotiable." A long silence followed, heavy with his internal struggle. "Thomas?" I prompted, using his first name with deliberate finality. "They really do miss you," he admitted, sounding defeated. "I know. My terms stand." After another agonizing pause, he finally gave in. "Okay, this weekend. Saturday morning?" "Saturday morning is perfect. I'll make chocolate chip pancakes." Victory was a strange mix of sweetness and sorrow. Saturday morning, I was up early, preparing their favorite dinosaur pancakes. When the doorbell rang, Thomas looked even older and more defeated than before, standing beside 2 boys who launched themselves into my arms with shrieks of joy. "Auntie Anya!" The day was a blur of board games, building a terrible fort in the living room, and story time. Neither boy mentioned their mother or grandmother. They were just happy to be here, in a calm, safe place. Sunday afternoon, as the boys gathered their things, Thomas pulled me aside in the kitchen. "You know, he said quietly, avoiding my eyes. Since you sent that invoice, Marissa has changed. Changed how? I asked, skeptical but curious. He rubbed his face, looking exhausted. She had to get a second job, retail and delivery driving. She got kicked off social media for spamming, and instead of worrying about her image, she's focusing on the kids. They're happier now. The irony hit me hard. My act of self-preservation had forced Marissa to become a better mother out of necessity. And Eleanor? She doesn't understand. She probably never will. He finally met my gaze, and for the first time in my life, I saw a flicker of genuine respect in his eyes. But I do. You were right to do what you did, Anya. That admission staggered me. The silent enabler, the conflict-avoidant father, was finally acknowledging my truth. As they left, I handed him containers of prepared food. For the boys. Same time next month? I'd like that, I replied. I watched them drive away, standing in the doorway of my beautiful, peaceful home, the home I had fiercely defended. I sank onto my modular sofa, my trophy, and felt the last pieces of the old guilt dissolving. 6 months later, my house was filled with warmth and genuine laughter for the real housewarming party. Gabe was there, pouring wine. My newest collaborator, Reese, an architect I had recently partnered with and had started seeing, was leaning against the kitchen counter. Reese's construction roughened hands poured wine with surprising gentleness, and he never, ever touched anything of mine without asking first. Zara from Lux Nova was even there, holding a framed magazine spread featuring our stunning collaboration. I never imagined that disaster would lead to this, Zara laughed, gesturing to the magazine. Business partners now, I smiled, taking the frame. Who would have thought? The final layer of vindication was complete. You know, I've never seen you this happy, Gabe observed, curling up beside me later that evening. I nodded. Turns out, family isn't an excuse for abuse, theft, or manipulation. Reese placed his arm around my waist, a comfortable, protective weight. Speaking of family, how are the nephews? They're good, I smiled, truly meaning it. Dad brought them last weekend for our monthly visit. No Eleanor, no Marissa, no manipulation. Just the boys, Reese, and the aunt who loves them. On my terms. Thomas says Marissa's second job has given her some perspective. Zara nodded knowingly. The famous $700 cutoff. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is stop enabling them. My phone buzzed. A text from Thomas. Boys made you something at school. Can we drop it by tomorrow? I typed back, yes, 2 p.m. works. Just you and them. Reese noticed my expression. Everything okay? Perfect, I replied. When everyone had left, Reese helped me clean up. I've been thinking, he said, stacking the last plate. That vacant lot next to the community center, it would make a great space for a playground. You thinking of designing it? We could do it together. Your eye for design, my construction knowledge. The we didn't scare me anymore. Neither did the idea of building something new, something that would last. I looked around my beautiful home, truly mine now, filled with new memories that had nothing to do with betrayal. I'd like that, I told him. I'd like that very much.